Hi and welcome to a impromptu podcast. I wasn't planning to do this podcast, but I just thought, you know what? Yesterday was such a great round at the Masters and there was all kinds. There was a stacked leaderboard. There was a little bit of controversy. There was live golfers to consider. So I thought we'd just do a very quick podcast to do a recap on the Masters round one. So let's first of all get stuck into the controversy. So I don't know whether everyone's aware of this, but it was alleged that Brooks Koepka's caddy told Gary Woodland's caddy what Brooks had hit on a par 3. Now, many of you who watch the channel will know that my brother is a full-time professional caddy. He caddies for pros, mainly on the Corn Ferry Tour. So I had a quick chat with him about this last night, and he said that it would be very, very unusual for a caddy to actually say to another caddy out loud what their player had hit. But it was pretty much general practice that a caddy, after their player is hit, would make it very easy for the other caddies to see the club that his players just hit. So, you know, they would tip the club in their direction. They would put it in the bag in a place where it's very easily seen. So that is common practice between the caddies. And it only ever takes place, he says, on par 3 tees. So the caddies do let each other know what their players are hitting to try and help them, obviously, get the right club for their player. But by the letter of the law, you shouldn't do that, okay? And by the letter of the law, you certainly shouldn't say out loud what your player has hit. Now, in the rules of golf, which I went and had a quick look at this morning, it is not against the rules of golf for a player to blatantly go over and look in the opposition's golf bag to see which club is missing from their bag to work out what their player is hitting. So, you know, when you take all of that into consideration, every player on every par 3 knows what the other golfers have just hit in their bag. You don't need the caddy to actually say out loud, Brooks just hit a 5-iron. In fact, he didn't say that. He just said 5, apparently. And when you look back on the footage, he clearly says 5. Now, it's a 2-shot penalty for this infringement. So, you know, I think it's quite conclusive on the evidence that he did tell the other caddy that he'd hit a 5-iron. And I think he was quite lucky to get away with his player not getting a 2-shot penalty. I'm not sure whether Gary Woodland would have got a 2-shot penalty as well. But the Masters Committee looked into it, spoke to all people involved, and it was concluded that no penalty was sufficient or should be enforced. I don't know. Maybe he was telling him what time his dinner reservation was that evening or something. Yeah, table's at 5, mate. You know what I mean? So I think they got away from one there. But having spoken to Grant, who caddies in, you know, has caddied in some big pro events, not PGA Tour events, but, you know, Corn Ferry events, then, you know, it's very, very normal practice for the caddies to let the other caddies know what they're hitting. So I think it's all a little bit of a storm in a teacup. He went about it in a way that left himself open to getting into real trouble. Okay, so let's get stuck into the actual round itself. So the course was playing very easy as you could ever wish Augusta National to play. There was like literally no wind. It was very soft from the rain in the days leading up to the tournament. So, you know, you give these players with this much talent that kind of golf course to go at, and some of them are going to take it apart for sure. So we're going to go down the leaderboard, and we'll start with the 3 that are currently leading at the top of the leaderboard, who are Viktor Hovland, Jon Rahm, and Brooks Koepka. So Viktor Hovland, I actually said in the live podcast, which was the Masters preview, that I said that Viktor Hovland will not contend in the Masters because his short game isn't good enough. Well, his short game was pretty damn good last night, it has to be said. One little caveat I will put on that is that the very soft conditions made, for me, there's a bit more margin for error on the short game. Maybe I'm being a little bit unkind, but, you know, definitely the softer conditions made a lot of the shots around the green just that little bit easier than what they have been when the course is very hard and fast. But credit where credit's due, he played fantastically good, and when his short game was required, he stepped up for sure. He made some incredible up and downs to keep his score going. Jon Rahm, wow, What a roller coaster that was. 4 putts the first. I mean, even when I'm playing in the blinking monthly medal at my golf club, you're always just wanting to get off to a solid start, aren't you? And I'm sure these guys are exactly the same. So to 4 putt the first and start with a double, he must have been just, you know, absolutely seething. And we know that Jon Rahm can get very hot under the collar. But to be fair to him, he just literally just brushed it off and just like was like, okay, I've got 71. He actually said in his interview afterwards, you know, if you're going to make that mistake, do it on the first, because you've got 71 holes left to put it right. And boy, did he put it right. 9 under for the next 17 holes. Absolutely incredible. And then there's Brooks Koepka flying the Live Golf flag. Now, I have to say, I mean, there's still 3 rounds left here, so there's a long way to go in this tournament. But I did say in my preview show that watch out for Brooks Koepka. I've put a bet on him quite well before the tournament started. So after his what I saw him play like in the Orlando event in Live, I looked at the odds and I got 50 to 1 on Brooks Koepka because I just saw the Brooks Koepka of old. I saw the healthy Brooks Koepka, and he is an absolute major monster when he's got his game. If you look at Brooks Koepka's career, he's not won that many PGA Tour events. He's won 2 Live Tour events, and whether people put any kind of gravitas on that or not is, you know, it's open for debate. But when he turns up at a major and he's got his game, boy, you know, the history tells us that he turns it on. So I was not surprised to see Brooks Koepka shoot 7 under based on what I'd seen at Live Orlando, and him saying that he was finally 100% healthy and his body was not getting in the way of him playing. So it's going to be very interesting to see whether Brooks can stay up there for the rest of the tournament. There's everything to suggest that he will do. Then we go down to Cameron Young, Jason Day at 5 under. Again, I am definitely giving myself big props here for sure, because I said in my previous show, watch out for Jason Day. He's been trending for a while. I've got money on Jason Day as well. I got 22 to 1 on Jason Day. So I'm feeling pretty good about my two sort of what I thought were my best chance bets. They've started both very well. Cameron Young obviously hasn't won a PGA Tour event. Whether he is going to be able to stand up to the pressure of a major championship, and, you know, not just a major championship, let's face it, Augusta is, you know, that really does shine a light on your game. But he's definitely got the game for Augusta. He hits it an absolute mile. Seems to have a solid game in all areas. Then we're down to Sean Lowry, Xander Schauffele, Adam Scott, Gary Woodland, Sam Bennett. Let's give a shout out to Sam Bennett, the amateur. I mean, he starts birdie eagle. I mean, what an amazing way to start. And you know, I know that these kids come out of the collegiate program now over in America and they're ready to go out and compete on tour. We've seen it so many times now. You know, there used to be a thing, didn't there, that, you know, you had to sort of like, you know, play for 2 or 3 years and earn your stripes and get comfortable. You know, these guys come out now from college and they're ready to go. And Sam Bennett, you know, I don't know whether he was really nervous on the first tee, but he certainly didn't look it. You know, he striped it down the first, knocked it on the first green, knocked it in, and then, you know, made an eagle on the second. He was 4 under after 5 holes and then took it to the house in level par. Did not have a bogey on his card, by the way. So massive shout out to Sam Bennett as an amateur. Be interesting to see what he does today. Having slept on it last night, is he going to have a, oh my God, you know, I'm right in the mix on the first page of the leaderboard at the Masters, and so it'll be a bit of a rabbit in the headlights. From what we saw yesterday, you know, probably not. Scotty Scheffler also at 4 under. I think Scotty's definitely going to contend to defend this title. He's just so solid. You know, please get in the comments below. Let me know who right now at this moment you think are the best 3 chances to win the Masters. Sam Burns had a bit of an up and down round. He shot 4 under, but could have been a lot better for sure. Justin Rose, great to see Justin Rose back playing well again. You know, he won the at&t at Pebble Beach, but it wasn't a designated event, so the field was pretty weak. Having said that, a win is a win. You know, no win on the PGA Tour is an easy win. So, you know, Justin is definitely getting his game back, having sort of been in the wilderness and struggling with, I think, with injury and back trouble has been his main problem. So he seems to be definitely on the road back. He's at 3 under with Colin Morikawa, Justin Spieth, Tony Finau. I mean, just look at this leaderboard. Hovland, Rahm, Koepka, Young, Day, Lowry, Schauffele, Scott, Woodland, Bennett, Scheffler, Burns, Rose, Morikawa, Spieth, Finau. I mean, this is all lined up now to be an amazing US Masters this year. We've got weather coming in, which is definitely going to have an effect on it, and that's something that we're going to talk about in a minute. But we can't. Justin Thomas, other notables, Justin Thomas at 2 under. I said in my preview show that I don't think Justin Thomas has been playing well this year, but you can't write him off. He's an absolutely class player. I think he's like number 4 or 5 in the world. So Cameron Smith at 2 under, actually, birdied the last, which I think was important for him. He's not been in top form on the Live Tour. I think his long layoff through the off-season with Live, where he quite admitted, he went back to Australia, spent a lot of time with his family, did a lot of fishing. So I think his game is a little bit undercooked. But if he can just keep trending in the right direction and do another good score and keep himself in the mix, I can just see him getting better and better as the tournament goes on. But he's going to need to improve on his 70 that he shot in the first round for me. He's going to need about probably a 68 or a 67, I think, to get right into the mix, depending on what the weather does. Because depending where you are in the draw could have a big effect on, what weather you get. The early starters are looking like they're going to get the better weather than the late starters. And Cam Smith's going to be going off as a late starter. Tom Kim, also at 2 under, showed his real inexperience on the 15th yesterday. He went at the flag with his bunker shot on 15, and anyone who's played that course a lot would have said to him, you can't take that line. You have to hit it high on the flag and take your medicine, because it just gets a little bit low. He didn't play a terrible shot, and it got up to probably about, wasn't a great bunker shot, but I think it got up to around sort of 15 feet from the hole. But that front left part of that green is like an absolute blinking car bonnet, and like once it starts rolling down it ain't going to stop. And sure enough, it started trickling, and the next minute he's in the water and he's shot double, where really he should have been making an easy par because he was in the bunker on the right-hand side for 2. So he showed a little bit of inexperience there, but he's only 20 years old. Is it his first Masters? I'm not sure. Certainly if it's not his first, it's one of his first. His first or second, and he'll learn from that experience. He won't make that mistake again. And it's just one of those things where they always say it takes time to learn how to play the Augusta National Golf Course. Patrick Reed at 1 under, he was actually going a lot better than that at one point, so I'm sure he's a little bit disappointed with that. Fred Couples, I mean, amazing. How old's Fred now? To go out there and shoot 1 under round that golf course that is like 7,500 yards long. Incredible, absolutely incredible, really. Also, I think 1 under for Phil Mickelson. I think that's a really good round for Phil. I'm sure that's going to give him something that he can build on. And what? He had a double. He had a double in his round, so he had it going at one point. He was looking like he get right in the mix. And as I said in my previous show, many people will laugh that I put a bet on Phil Mickelson at 200 to 1. Admittedly, it's an each way bet, so I'm hoping that he's going to place in the top 10. But even on the reduced odds each way, I'm still going to do really well if Phil can get into the top 10 when he's at 200 to 1. So I'm hoping that Phil's going to have a good round in the second round. Joachim Neiman, Tyrrell Hatton also at 1 under. Dustin Johnson at 1 under. I mean, talk about going under the radar. I didn't even see Justin Johnson on the coverage yesterday. So all these people at 1 under are going to need a good second round. And then there's a whole host of people on even par, and I suppose the most notable one is Rory McIlroy. I mean, where do we start with Rory? It seemed to me that in his interview after the round, he was incredibly down, and I think he was surprised. I don't think he even he had any thoughts entering his head whatsoever that first round wasn't going to go well. We know his history in the first round at the Masters. He almost always plays himself out of the tournament. But, his demeanour, his attitude, his form, everything was suggesting that this was going to be Rory's year. And I said in the preview show that I absolutely expected Rory to do a good first round score, a solid first round score, get himself in the mix, and this could be Rory's year. But unfortunately, we've seen this movie before, and He's now put himself behind the 8-ball a little bit, and he's going to need a really good round today to get himself back in the mix, because he's 7 shots back, and I don't see a lot of these players going backwards unless the weather intervenes. So that's it for, you know, all of the sort of people who had a good first round. Let's quickly touch on the live golfers. You know, this is an interesting dynamic this year. You know, are the live golfers going to contend? The Golf Channel analysts were saying in the preview show that they said there's no way that the live golfers are going to contend because they don't play competitive enough golf. They're not going to be sharp enough. I never, ever sort of like bought into that theory. I watch all the PGA Tour golf on the TV, and I watch the Live Tour online when their events are on. And yes, as Cameron Smith said in his press conference, their fields are not as strong as the PGA Tour, but there are very good golfers on that tour, and it is not easy to win. Is it easier to win on Live than it is to win on the PGA Tour? Yes, without a shadow of a doubt. The fields are a lot bigger and they're a lot deeper. I absolutely get that. But you can't dismiss Live golfers just because their fields are smaller and they're not as deep. There are some great golfers on the Live Tour. And for those people to say that they're not going to compete, they're not sharp enough, they're not good enough anymore, just shows to me that there is a bit of a bias against the Live Tour in the media. And if a live golfer wins the Masters, I mean, it's going to be just funny to watch how all these guys are going to react to that, because they're going to have to eat a massive piece of humble pie. So we'll quickly go through the live golfers. I'll try and pick them out. So obviously Brooks is leading. He's probably going to obviously be the best chance now, without a doubt. We've got Cameron Smith's next at 2 under, so he's 5 shots behind. We've got Patrick Reed at 1 under, Phil Mickelson at 1 under, Joaquin Niemann at 1 under, so Dustin Johnson at 1 under. So there's plenty of live golfers that are sort of in it, but these guys at 1 under, and even Cameron Smith at 2 under, they're going to need a good second round for sure. Let's go a bit further down. Taylor Gooch at even, Adrian Answer at even, Harold Varner III at even, Jason Kokrak at 1 over. I think we're getting to people that now are, you know, they're needing a stellar second round to get themselves back into it. Sergio Garcia at 2 over. That's really disappointing, because I'm pretty sure he had it about 2 or 3 under at one point, so he finished really poorly. Bryson DeChambeau at 2 over. No surprise there. Bryson's, you know, his game since his wrist surgery, his game has just not been the same. He's fighting to find his form again after that operation. Mito Pereira at 2 over. Is there any more? Let's go down here. Louis Oosthuizen at 4 over. I mean, Louis pretty much out of it, I would say. Bubba Watson at 5 over. Again, he's coming back from an injury, isn't he? It's stopped him playing for more last year, so we'll cut Bubba a little bit of slack there. And Kevin Na withdrew. I'm not sure why Kevin Na withdrew. Please get in the comments and let me know. But he was out first with Mike Weir in a 2-ball, and poor old Mike Weir had to go round in a 1-ball. I'm sure he got round in one of the fastest rounds of his life. And what did he shoot? I just saw his name there, actually. Mike Weir shot even. Fair play. Fair play, because it's not easy when you're playing on your own, because, you know, it's a totally different rhythm, and it's just you and your caddy, and sure, it was a bit of a strange experience. And also, with him being out first, I'm not sure whether there would have been a huge amount of galleries for him to sort of like get some vibe off as well. So that's a great round by Mike Weir under the circumstances. So we have to talk about Tiger Woods. Tiger shot, was it 1 or 2 over that he shot? He shot 2 over. I mean, it's not any great surprise, but I do find it a little bit sad. You know, I think we have to start to accept now that, you know, when he came back from his back fusion, he was playing regular golf. There was a build-up of results to his 2019 Masters win that was suggesting that he was, you know, in a position to win a golf tournament again. I mean, obviously he won the Tour Championship at East Lake, and, you know, he was right in there at the Open. He was right in there at the USPGA. You know, he was contending in majors before that 2019 Masters. So none of us were totally surprised by his win in the 2019 Masters, as big and an amazing a comeback story as it was. But this is a totally different situation. You know, please get in the comments if you disagree with me. But I don't think we're ever going to see Tiger Woods contend for a major championship again. And based on the man's, you know, sort of his theory throughout all of his career is that, you know, if I can't turn up to win, I don't turn up. You know, so at which point, because he's going to get to that point very soon, in my opinion, I wouldn't put anything past this guy, but, you know, I think we have to face the facts here. Again, get in the comments if you disagree with me. But, you know, is there going to become a point where Tiger says to himself, you know what, with a shattered left ankle that, you know, I can't walk properly, I can't, you know, just energy-wise, fatigue-wise, I can't play 4 rounds. My swing isn't quite there for playing four consistent rounds of golf. I'm not playing enough golf to... Actually, I think I'm being a bit unfair there. I think his golf swing is actually very good. But I just don't think turning up for 4 majors a year and his Hero Challenge, his own tournament, and maybe at Riviera, you're just not going to be competitively sharp enough to compete again at this highest level. And I think there's a part of me that doesn't want to see that Tiger Woods. I want to remember the Tiger Woods of old that was swashbuckling and taking on the world and doing amazing things. I don't want to see him struggling around a golf course all the time. And so, you know, he's obviously at 2 over now. His main focus is going to be to make the cut. But I do wonder just how many more times we're going to see Tiger Woods on a PGA Tour or major tournament level again. You know, with this Live Tour and PGA Tour thing going on, is that going to make him kind of just keep coming out? Because obviously it is great for the PGA Tour. Every time he turns up, it causes a massive amount of interest. He is, you know, obviously the icon of the modern generation. And he's a huge weapon in the PGA Tour's battle for publicity with the Live Tour. So maybe he feels a duty through doing that, possibly, to keep coming out and playing. But I just think it's sad. I don't want to see that Tiger Woods for too long. If he's not going to be able to compete, then you know, he's not a million miles off the senior tour, by the way, where, you know, he can go off and he will be able to compete on the senior tour and he'll be able to ride in a kart. And, you know, I think that's a place where we could see Tiger Woods competing and winning. And okay, it's the Champions Tour, but still, you know, it's seeing Tiger in that more positive light rather than this kind of light where he's struggling all the time. So yeah, just a bit sad, really. You know, he might completely prove me wrong. You know, he might, like I say, I'd never put anything past that guy, but I just think the limitations of that injury are not going to go away. And sadly, you know, I just don't see him contending for a tournament win again until he decides to go and play the Champions Tour, which he always said that he was never going to go and play the Champions Tour. But I think now he might have changed his mind, given the circumstances that have come into his life with these injuries that he's had. So, okay, so that's a wrap-up of round 1. Let's just quickly talk about the weather that's coming in today. So the weather, apparently the early starters are going to get the better weather in round 2. So that bodes well for Rory. Okay, Rory's got to get out the blocks today and he's got to post a score to get himself back in this tournament, and then hope that the bad weather comes in the afternoon when a lot of the sort of leaders, so your Hovlands, your Rahms and your Koepkas are going to be going out after Rory, so they might cop a bit of the worst weather. The wind's going to get up over the weekend as well, so, you know, there's people saying that actually it's unlikely that the Masters is going to finish on Sunday because of the potential stoppages for thunderstorms. All of this is going to mean that it's very hard to predict after round 1 what's going to happen in round 2. If the weather forecast was pretty much the same as yesterday all the way through, I would be saying that actually these guys at the top are just going to keep going away from the field. You know, you're sort of like, you know, the odd ones are obviously going to fall back, but most of them are just going to keep the pedal on the gas. And if you're 7 shots behind now, you've got literally no chance of getting back into this tournament. With the weather as it's going to be, I think that does open up the possibility for so much unpredictability, where actually someone who's out of it after round 1 can play themselves back into this tournament. So It's going to be interesting to see round 2. All of the guys, I think, from certainly 1 under down, need a big round today. The 2 unders need something better and steady. And it'll be interesting to see what the guys from 4 under upwards, see if anyone puts in another stellar round and really breaks away at the top of the leaderboard. It's all set up fantastically for an amazing Masters tournament. There's nothing like the US Masters. I've got my first competition tomorrow. I can't wait to go and play my first competition round of golf. Watching it last night, it's got my competitive juices going. My golf game is in no position because of, obviously, we're coming out of winter. I've not played much golf, so I've got no idea how I'm going to play. I think it is going to be very much an on-the-day thing. But having watched that first round last night, and I'll be watching the second round tonight, I am going to be chomping at the bit to get going in my golf competition on Saturday. So, okay, we'll wrap it up there. Please get in the comments. Let me know who you think the top 3 favourites are now after round 1. And also, please get in there and tell me who you think, who's just a little bit out of it at the moment, is going to play themselves back into contention in the next 3 days. Okay, great stuff. And I'll see you in the next video.